Pan's Labyrinth, or El Laberinto del Fauno as it's known in Spanish, apologies to any Spanish speakers who I may have offended, follows Ophelia, a young girl played by Ivana Banquero, who actually grew up to look like this! Good for her! Who's sent with her heavily pregnant mother to live with her stepfather, a captain in the army during the Spanish Civil War who turns out to have been Satan reincarnated in human form. No, seriously, just wait. He makes Adolf Hitler look like Tinky Winky. Whilst at the house, Ophelia suddenly discovers a maze owned by this fella, a faun who tells her that she is the reincarnation of a magical princess named Moana. Not that one, but she is able to take her place as ruler of her kingdom after completing 3 tasks. At the same time, we have this woman Mercedes, a maid at the captain's house who looks after Ophelia, and they become really close. The idea for Pan's Labyrinth came from writer and director Guillermo del Toro's notebooks, in which he had been keeping ideas and drawings for the film that developed over 20 years. Many of these ideas originated from nightmares that Del Toro had had as a child. He would often dream that every midnight he would wake up and a faun would gradually step out from behind the grandfather's clock. However, the story was originally about a pregnant woman who falls in love with a faun, but as time went on, he must have realised that he was recycling the plotline of King Kong. So these elements began to shift and change, though the elements of the faun and the pregnant woman would remain in the finished film. In fact, Del Toro's original script also included a fairy tale about a dragon that Ophelia would narrate to her unborn brother. The tale would have involved a dragon named Veranium Silex. Sounds like a Harry Potter spell. Veranium Silex! Who guards a mountain surrounded by thorns with a blue rose at its peak that can grant immortality. The dragon and the thorns ward off many men who try to get the rose, who would eventually learn that it is better to avoid pain than to be given immortality. However, the scene ended up being cut for budget reasons. And so I wouldn't have to butcher any more Spanish words. Even though I said them anyway. I'm sorry. Del Toro also said that the film was heavily inspired by his Catholic upbringing. In particular, the priest's dialogue were taken directly from a priest who offered communion to political prisoners during the Spanish Civil War.
A esa gente, Dios ya les ha salvado el alma. Lo que al cuerpo le suceda, bien poco le importa.
Some of the other inspirations for the film include Alice in Wonderland. No, because this isn't dog shit. Arthur Macken's The Great God Pan, Lord Dunsany's The Blessing of Pan, Algernon Blackwood's Pan's Garden, and the work of Francisco Goya. Some of my favourite writers, Borges, Blackwood, Mack and Dunsany, have explored the figure of the god Pan and the symbol of the labyrinth. These are things that I find very compelling, and I'm trying to mix them and play with them. In fact, Del Toro has said the film has strong thematic connections to one of his previous movies, The Devil's Backbone, and even called Pan's Labyrinth an informal sequel to that movie, as they're set in the same time period and deal with similar issues and themes. FYI, Devil's Backbone? Awesome! Del Toro initially tried to get the movie made in Hollywood, but they would only finance the film if it was in the English language. However, Del Toro refused to do this and instead chose to forego his entire salary as director in order to get the movie made the way he wanted. He maintains to this day that it was all worth it. He also ended up translating the entire movie's dialogue himself, as he was unhappy with how his previous films had been done and wanted to make sure the movie came across in the way he intended. Sergi Lopez, who played the evil captain, said that Del Toro described the final version of the plot to him a year and a half before filming even started, and he instantly agreed to do the movie. For 2.5 hours, he explained to me all the movie with all the details. It was incredible, and when he finished, I said, "You have a script?" He said, "No. Nothing is written." Lopez received the script a year later and said, "It was exactly the same. It was incredible. In his little head, he had all the history with a lot of little detail, a lot of characters. Like now when you look at the movie, it was exactly what he had in his head." During filming, Del Toro encouraged Lopez to play Vidal as menacingly as possible. In order to achieve this, he lowered his voice by an octave, spoke in a neutral tone, and even put a rock in his shoe every morning in order to achieve the angry feel of the character. Well, it worked, mate! Filming began in the Guadarrama mountain range of central Spain and lasted 8 weeks, wrapping in June of 2005, but there were some difficulties during filming. Doug Jones, who played the Faun and the Pale Man and basically any weird looking fantasy creature in movie history, had to spend 5 hours every morning having makeup put on him, as Del Toro insisted that the effects should be practical rather than CGI. In addition, he was the only actor on set who didn't speak Spanish, and none of the other actors spoke English, so in order to get the dialogue right, he would write it out phonetically phonetically before saying it. Also, during post-production in London, Guillermo del Toro lost his notebook of sketches in a London cab and was incredibly distraught that he had lost his most prized possession. However, just a few days later, the cab driver found the notebook and returned it. From that day on, del Toro wrote a note inside the notebook that said, "Whoever finds this will be given $1,800. Well, I bet the cab driver's a little that he didn't get a reward. Pan's Labyrinth premiered at the 2006 Cannes Film Festival on May the 27th and was so well received it gained a whopping 22-minute standing ovation. I never got that. How do you just stand up and applaud for 22 minutes straight? Wouldn't you get bored? And what happens at the end? You just awkwardly all like sit back down? Like what happens? It was then given a worldwide release on October the 11th and was an incredible success, grossing $83 million on a budget of $19 million and received near unanimous critical acclaim. The movie does open with an eerie humming from Mercedes, a character to be introduced later, which really sets an uneasy tone. We also get some really beautiful yet oddly dark and ominous scenery. But hey, Ophelia's played by Anne Frank! Weirdly, Mercedes actually looks like Anne Frank's mother. Was this intentional?
No entiendo para qué has traído tantos libros, Ofelia. Si vamos al campo, al aire libre.
Well, I wanted to bring my iPad, but you wouldn't let me, you
Ofelia. Ven.
He visto nada.
No, there wasn't. That clearly wasn't a fairy. Dumbass. And that's when we see him, one of the greatest villains in movie history. I mean it. This motherfucker will make your skin crawl. You'll be absolutely begging for him to die as the movie progresses. He makes Miss Trunchbull look like Minnie Mouse.
Es un laberinto.
You have 13 hours in which to solve the labyrinth before your baby brother becomes one of us forever.
It is really sweet though how Ophelia is trying to protect her mother and unborn brother, even telling him a story. It's really sweet and the visuals are amazing.
Y todas las tardes, la rosa se marchitaba sin poder otorgar sus dones a persona alguna. Olvidada y perdida, en la cima de aquella montaña de piedra fría. Sola, hasta el fin de los tiempos.
Well, this is a nice and happy story to read to your unborn brother. Man, what is it with villains and pocket watches? Just give them a pocket watch and it automatically makes them a lot more evil.
Un hijo debe nacer donde quiera que esté su padre. Eso es todo.
Otra cosa, capitán. ¿Quién le ha dicho a usted que la criatura es un varón?
No me joda.
Alright, calm down, Henry VIII. So he suspects these guys aren't innocent hunters like they claim, and he... Jesus Christ! It looks so real! Oh my god! Yeah, don't with this guy!
A ver si aprenden a registrar esta gentuza antes de venir a molestarme.
Sí, mi capitán.
I mean, I completely expected him to just shoot his own soldier there. Incompetent douchebag. Whoa, Mum, did you slip me some of your pills? But she shows the CGI reject what a real fairy is supposed to look like before it mutates. Okay, that is pretty cool. But it is slightly amusing how Ophelia just accepts this as completely normal and just casually follows the damn thing into the labyrinth.
Echo!
I'm an idiot! You're an idiot!
But then the fawn shows up and it looks awesome. The makeup is incredible. Ah, I can write my diary here.
I solemnly swear that I am up to no good.
Debajo de sus raíces ha anidado un enorme sapo que no lo deja sanar.
So Link has to go inside and break the curse and save the day.
Habrás de meter las 3 piedras de ámbar mágicas en su boca y recuperar una llave dorada que oculta en su vientre.
Oh, hey, it really is Link! But then... Okay, this giant-ass frog isn't the best CGI. Look at this! Okay, so moving on.
Yo estoy aquí porque quiero que mi hijo nazca en una España limpia y nueva. Porque esta gente parte de una idea equivocada, que somos todos iguales.
He's so evil, just look at him!
Pero hay una gran diferencia, que la guerra terminó y ganamos nosotros. Y si para que nos enteremos todos hay que matar a esos hijos de puta, pues los matamos. Y ya está.
I also slap old ladies, decapitate babies, and punch kittens. I am the bad guy.
¿Y cómo se conocieron usted y el capitán?
El padre de Ofelia le confeccionaba los uniformes.
Ah, vaya.
Y cuando él murió, yo entré a trabajar en una tienda de géneros. Y hace poco más de un año, el capitán y yo...
I love how she's just telling everyone this really touching story of how they met, and he just looks so fed up with her shit. But then the fawn returns. Man, I love the whole design. It looks so cool. This is Navi the Fairy. Press C up to talk to him, or ignore him like every gamer who knows what the they're doing and they just want him to off because we know how to open a door.
¿Por qué habría de mentiros un pobre fauno como yo?
Yes! Show me who the heir of Slytherin is. Or find a tampon, you nasty. But no, her mum starts bleeding. So is Ophelia psychic?
¿Sabes alguna nana?
But the fawn gives Ophelia a mandrake root that she stole from Professor Sprout at Hogwarts to heal her mother.
Es grave, doctor.
Yes, I'm afraid it's going to have to come off. Whoa, no, dude, I was just joking! And of course, there's no anaesthetic, and they don't even cleanse the sore first. The movie really does have a magical and charming, whimsical feel to it, and I love it. It makes you feel like a kid again. Except for, all the blood and war and murder. And this is when we get the most famous and iconic scene of the whole film. This dining table and this son of a looks terrifying. Jesus Christ, look at the eyeballs. This is horrifying. Stephen King actually attended a screening of the movie and sat next to Guillermo del Toro. And during the scene, he found it so intense that he squirmed in his seat in fright. Del Toro said the experience of seeing Stephen King's reaction was better than winning an Oscar, and he called it one of the happiest moments of his entire career. He also said that the pale man who prefers children rather than the feast in front of him was intended as a metaphorical criticism for the state of the Catholic Church. A fantasy about a maze has a metaphor about paedophile priests. Sure, why not?
Cornish pixies.
But as she slowly uses a key in separate locks, it's so suspenseful as you expect the weird-ass monster to wake up. Then she puts her hand in like she's on I'm a Celebrity, get me out of here. But despite the fawn telling her to not touch the feast, and the fairies clearly trying to prevent her from doing so, of course she doesn't listen and it's alive. Okay, I'm sorry. I know this is the most iconic part of the movie, but it just looks hilarious. Look at it. Oh, I see you. Oh, don't come at me. Oh, look, I'm gonna get you.
Diamond upside down is a pussy.
It even eats the damn fairies. This is brutal. Watch out, guys. I'm gonna get you. Give me Harry Potter and I will leave Hermione untouched. But it's so intense as it corners her. This is actually really scary. I am the bad guy. I hate everyone.
Capitán Vidal. La fiebre está bajando. No sé cómo, pero así es.
Well, just hear me out here. But what if a big-ass magical fawn showed up and asked your stepdaughter to hide a magical mandrake root under your wife's bed to somehow heal her?
Escúcheme bien. Si tiene que escoger, salve al niño.
Unless it's a girl, then throw that in the trash. Yeah. Look, I have a new jacket and shades on. I am the bad guy. But during an attack, one of his own guys gets injured, but it's no use to him, so despite begging for his life, he's dead. Jesus Christ, he's so evil! I love it. But they manage to capture one of the enemies to question them.
Coño, Garcés. Para uno que cogemos y resulta que está tamudo.
That was funny. He does have a sense of humour.
Te voy a proponer algo. Si cuentas hasta 3, sin tartamudear, te puedes ir.
This is actually so intense as he tries to do it, and you beg for him to succeed, but you know he's only delaying the inevitable.
¡Habéis roto las reglas!
Eran solo 2 uvas. Yo creí que nadie se daría cuenta.
¡Ah! Nos hemos equivocado.
Equivocado.
¡Habéis fallado! ¡No podéis regresar!
Fue todo un accidente.
¡No!
An accident? How was it an accident? It literally said, don't eat anything. Eat something and something bad's gonna happen. He wasn't exactly cryptic, you dipshit. But my god, he literally splits the dude's hand in half. And then he begs for the doctor to end the pain, and it's so heartbreaking. Meanwhile, the captain is trying to figure out what everyone's doing behind his back, while Ophelia is checking on her mum, and you're just begging for her to get out of there, okay? Just run!
Déjala. Déjala. Por favor.
Mira lo que tenía debajo de tu cama. ¿Qué te parece?
What's the big deal anyway? Surely it's just, hey, she's hiding weird things under your bed. That's strange.
Una raíz mágica. Me la ha dado el fauno.
Esto es por toda esa mierda que tú le permites leer.
Letting your child read? Absolutely disgusting behavior.
¡No! ¡No!
¡Ofelia! La magia no existe.
There's no such thing as magic.
But the mandrake gets burned, leading to a mother falling ill again. And despite needing the doctor for his wife, Captain Retard shoots him dead anyway for betraying him.
Garcés, llame al jefe de botiquín.
You just shot him, mate! Ophelia's mum does sadly pass away, but at least she has Mercedes, who's a really likeable character and has been a mother figure to her throughout the entire ordeal. Ah, the dark music is kicking in. This is my cue to be evil. I am the bad guy, you know. So Mercedes decides to run away to freedom without Ophelia and come back for her later. And she takes her anyway. Alright, but they get caught before the captain beats the shit out of his own stepdaughter as if we didn't hate him enough already. So Mercedes is tied up but managed to get loose and... Just try watching this without celebrating.
No serás el primer cerdo que degüella.
Yes! Yeah, this guy is such a good bad guy. You honestly will be on the edge of your seat and you can't help but cheer to watch him get the stabbed out of him. Do it again! Do it again! And then she just carries about her day. But it does look awesome as his mouth is now in pieces. It is so satisfying to see. It's not long before she gets caught, but she threatens suicide, and you do really root for her character. She's risked everything for Ophelia, and is such a strong-willed person. But she gets saved just in time, because of course she does. And that's when the fawn returns to console Ophelia, but there's one final task. She needs to take her baby brother to the Labyrinth. And I shall call myself the Joker. But to be fair, he manages to stitch his own mouth back together. What a badass. Even managing to drink whiskey to clean the wound. Man, that's gotta hurt.
Goblin King! Goblin King! Wherever you may be, take this child of mine far away from me!
But Ophelia manages to drug the douchebag, but it doesn't stop his Superman ass stumbling after her.
¡Entregadme al niño!
No. Mi hermano se queda conmigo.
I must say, he is the quietest damn baby I've ever seen. Dude! Okay, I gotta admit, I didn't see that coming. Even though they clearly show it at the start of the movie. But you know what? At this point, you just kind of forget. Shut up. This poor baby man lost his mum, lost his dad, lost his sister. Welcome to the world, kid! What even took the guy so long? He's hated her since day one. You think he would have killed her as soon as the mother went.
Decidle a mi hijo. Decidle a qué hora murió su padre. Decidle que yo...
No. Ni siquiera sabrá tu nombre.
Yes! Oh, it's so great to see! Yeah, Karma's a bitch, mother. But Ophelia's blood now opens the portal and she finally becomes the princess. Yeah, her father is Zeus now, apparently. But yay, what a happy ending. Almost everyone dies. Woo! Actually, the ending has a lot of different interpretations. Mainly about whether or not the faun and the labyrinth and the fairies and all that are actually real or just made up in Ophelia's mind. It's a popular belief, and something I've always believed, that it was imaginary. Ophelia was struggling with the hardships in her life, so she created this fantasy world as a mental escape, and none of it is actually happening. This is backed up when she's talking to the faun, and the captain shows up, but doesn't see anything.
Sí, la niego.
Man, I gotta invest in getting her a damn psychiatrist. It's believed that the mandrake root burning wasn't the reason her mother died, but because of all of the stress during the pregnancy. Her health already wasn't the best, and it was clear that the labour would end her anyway. The timing of the root being burned was merely a coincidence made up in Ophelia's mind for her to blame herself. Her vision in the kingdom at the end is her final farewell to end this fantasy on a high note. This was her escape, where she could finally be happy. However, there are also a lot of reasons to believe that it was all real as well. At one point, the captain locks Ophelia in her room. Now, she would have no way of getting out, but she uses magic chalk to escape. And when Mercedes returns to get her, she does see the chalk lines on the ground, and the captain himself interacts with the chalk at one point too. Although, it is worth noting that Ophelia could have physically had chalk, drawn the lines, and pretended in her mind that that was a trapdoor, etc. But that still doesn't explain how she got out. In the chase scene through the labyrinth, Ophelia reaches a dead end at one point, but the walls open up and close again after she's through. But also, during the stories that she narrates throughout the movie, the princess left traces of her existence on Earth, but they are only visible to those who know where to look. And that explains why the captain doesn't see the faun. Del Toro himself stated in an interview that while he believes it is real, he believes it should be left up to interpretation. The ending should tell something different to everyone. It should be a matter of personal discussion. As for me, call me boring, but I'm going to say it's imaginary. I don't know, just a troubled young girl dealing with abusive stepfather during the war just seems more plausible to me than a magical faun and mandrake roots and giant ass animated CGI vomiting frogs. In 2007, just a year after the film's release, Del Toro announced that he was actually working on a sequel, which would focus on Ophelia's younger brother finding the maze for himself, but he later scrapped this concept in favour of making Hellboy 2: The Golden Army. In fact, Paramount even considered doing an English language remake of the film, but Del Toro flat out refused to let them go ahead with the project, and nothing has been said about it since. Pan's Labyrinth is wonderful, and it checks off everything. It's magical, it's charming, it's sad, it's uplifting. The production design is magnificent. You really feel for Ophelia's character, root for Mercedes, and god damn do you boo the captain. That guy is tremendously evil. This is a movie that you definitely need to check out.